Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon members, anybody that's contributed to the podcast in any way, even if it's just commenting or liking the video or subscribing to the channel, anything like that. It just really means a lot to me. Really trying to get the word out there about these places, and because the general public still doesn't even know these places exist. So this work is important, and I want to thank you guys for all of the support. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce one of my 2 guests for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year, Colin.
So my name is Colin Buckley. I'm way over here in California. And the 2 programs that I went to were AIR first for 4 months, or Academy at Ivyridge for 4 months. And then I was transported to Bethel, or at my time, it was actually called Eagle Point Christian Academy, Bethel, Mississippi. And that was between 04 and 05.
Okay. And walk us through like your childhood and like what led up to you going to the program, or if anything like traumatic in your childhood happened, just walk us through all that.
So I like to call those vivid memories, like I'm fairly certain we all have. I like to call them axe moments because, well, the tree always remembers and the axe forgets, you know? So anyway, the very first, I guess, thing I can remember in my childhood would be my mother dying at the age of 5, or who I thought was my mom at the time, dying at the age of 5. And she died of ovarian cancer. So I, of course, at 5 years old, saw her laying dead in her bed. And that is like one of the earliest, like really vivid memories that I have. Shortly after that, my dad actually remarried very, very quickly. Like, and the lady that he married, she had 4 kids of her own. 3 of them came and moved into the house at the same time. So I just went from being an only kid, my mom just dying, to being one of 4. And I don't know. I guess that's when I started acting out, I guess, because I had those. It was within a year. So she died and my dad remarried within a year. So that's when I started acting out. And instead of trying to find out why I was acting out, why I started instead of going that route, my dad more or less just bared down on me, and he thought like I was just acting out, being a shit kid. So he bared down and actually started like really trying to, I guess, control me in a way. Yeah, he tried to control me. He thought I needed more discipline, more structure, and in his world, the discipline and structure wasn't discipline and structure. It was controlling and abusive. So of course, as I grew, the arguments, the fighting, and everything, the abuse got more and more and more and more severe. And then he thought that, Ivy Ridge advertising itself the way it did, he thought that it sounded like a fabulous place to send me, and it sounded like exactly what I needed, because I was, in his eyes, a rebellious teenager, and I had a problem with authority and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he sent me to Ivy Ridge because the behavior modification facility. And when I was there, obviously, I saw what the environment was very quickly. I already went into the program, I think, with dissociative PTSD, because I've been doing that stare off into space thing for fucking ever. Like, it's literally I can remember. So I think I actually already went into Ivy Ridge with PTSD, believe it or not. And then, so when I arrived there, I just immediately was the quiet kid and just rolled with it. And because I was getting thrown around my house at home, this is like what I wanted to emphasize for my story anyway. I'm fairly certain I'm not the only one. I mean, we all have very similar stories. So in the moment, like that time period, I didn't think in my world if a mark wasn't being left on me, I didn't think of it as abusive. I had no proof. So I never thought to report anything my dad did, except once when he left 2 marks on my neck, like finger marks.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I got sent to the Ridge and I saw them doing the same thing that my dad used to do to me, I didn't think of it as like, I didn't think of it as wrong almost.
Yeah.
Like, it was just my normal. So
Yeah.
when I arrived here and I saw this happening, I was like, okay, well, now I'm just being raised by a bunch of people like my dad instead of my dad.
Yeah, and maybe even did even like a part of you maybe think that was love, or like because it was the only thing that you knew, like growing up? Well, like one of the only things, like the environment you were around, or like just in general, you saw the comparison.
No, I never saw it as love.
Okay, you didn't get that bad. Okay.
I was just kind of waiting until I was 18 so I didn't have to deal with these assholes anymore.
Yeah. So it essentially went from your dad to just a bunch of abusers doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was very, very similar. Like, a lot of my dad's in my fights were him throwing me to the wall, were him throwing me into the wall, hitting me until I fell to the ground. Like, that was a lot. So when I got sent to the Ridge and I saw kids getting thrown to the ground, I saw kids getting thrown to the wall, it was the same fucking thing. Like,
yeah, it was like, no, this is already normal for me. So like,
right.
Yeah, I totally.
So like, people want to come down on us and say, why didn't you report it sooner? Well, fuck, bro, the documentary just came out and let me know this was not normal.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I never, so, but in my own house, I knew it was wrong. I've always known it was wrong.
Yeah.
So when I became a parent myself, like, I don't do this shit to my kids.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
My 16-year-old tells me he loves me every day. When I was 16, I was at the Ridge in Bethel. So yeah.
Okay. When you did you get transported, or did your parents bring you there when you went?
So I got transported. 2 big burly dudes came into my room, and my dad actually walked in front of them and was like, these guys are going to take you to school. And because I already saw the situation and I was already in survival mode, I knew this was a fight I wasn't going to win. So I had no choice. Or in my brain, it was immediate compliance. So they threw me my clothes that were laying on the ground that I had been wearing the day before, and they said, put these on. And I did. And they threw me flip-flops, and I put those on, and I walked right out with them. I had the thought, because I had ran away before in my life. I did have the thought to run, but I knew I knew I couldn't just take off, because I knew they'd probably catch me fairly quickly. And so I waited for them to put me in the car. But then that's where my mistake was, because I was immediately defeated by child locks.
Of course, yeah. When you got there, what do you remember about your intake? And did they give you anything physical as far as a rule manual? Did they go over rules with you? Did they assign you somebody to show you the ropes, or a hope buddy? I guess it was at Academy at Ivy Ridge.
Yeah, so that's not too like a vivid of a memory. My intake is not a very vivid memory for me. But I do remember getting taken into a little room. I do remember getting down to my underwear and putting the gray sweats on. And then, yes, I was assigned a Hope Buddy. I don't know if we're naming names here, though. So, yeah, I was assigned a Hope Buddy. And within the first 3 days is actually when I received my commitment letter.
Interesting.
And then, of course, with the commitment letter, I started crying. I turned to my Hope Buddy, and I'm like, I don't want to flip out, because I already knew what flipping out was 3 days in, And he responded with, you're good, dude. Nobody's provoking you. But what I didn't have the vocabulary at the time to say to him was, that's not what I'm worried about. Not right now. I know that if I stay here, I'm going to end up getting restrained. You know what I mean? Because I'll be able to watch somebody or watch it happening or be in this environment so long before I lose my own shit.
Exactly. Yep. Do you remember, do you happen to remember, like, you just an estimation of how many people were there when you got there?
Oh no. See, that's
okay. It's fine.
I want to say, man, no, I don't want to eat up time trying to remember that shit.
Okay. No problem. How
There,
long after you got? Go ahead.
there was a few families there. I want to say, like, shit, 5 to, I don't know. This is 0405, so whatever. It wasn't too, there were too many, but yeah.
Okay. How long after you got to Academy at Ivy Ridge did they put you through your first seminar? And what was the first seminar? Was it orientation or discovery?
Orientation, and I want to say I opted out of discovery twice. So I want to say it was almost a month before I attended, or I attended orientation within the first 2 months. Yeah, because I remember at Ivy Ridge, I actually chose out of discovery twice.
Okay. And what level did you make it to at Academy at Ivy Ridge?
2.
2? Okay. And what did you, as far as your program, like, what did you find yourself like trying to get points, but kind of like, I see for some people, including myself, a target was painted on my back pretty much instantly when I got there. So I was, I try and get points, but also I was in fuck it mode, but I noticed that there was a target on me. So did you notice that there was a target on you and you tried to get points, or did you just were in fuck it mode completely, or was it easy for you to get points? How was your program experience in general?
So remember, I kind of entered the program in survival mode already. So I immediately noticed that the ones fighting got fucked up a lot. And then my response to that was remaining quiet. And so there was never a target on my back. But I did have a level of fuck it. So I knew my dad's main focus was my schooling. So I did actually try to do school there on the switch on schoolhouse. But I reached a point in science, like literally within the first, like, I think month, 2 months, I ran into a spot where it didn't even seem like the test pertained to the chapter I read. So I got stuck. So I got stuck and I never got past that point. And then discovery, I did try. I want to say I did try, but I didn't give the program, I didn't try hard. I didn't put my full effort into the program. I was just trying to skate through and skate by. So obviously that's discovery, and that's why I chose out twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you just make it through discovery at Academy at Ivy Ridge, or did you not make it through discovery at Academy?
No, I never.
Okay. And what led to you going to Bethel? Like, and how did that transport happen? Did you know you were going somewhere else?
So at one point, or about 4.5 months in, 4 months into Ivy Ridge, I the whole time I was there, I was trying to think of how to get out. I mean, just like I'm fairly certain a lot of us were trying to formulate ways to escape, And my dad, I almost want to say he's a clinical narcissist, but he doesn't have the freaking diagnosis, of course, because why would he go to check his own mind if he's a narcissist? Anyway.
Exactly.
So, but he had very, very strong personality traits, and I grew up on a farm. I'm a farm kid. Okay. So, he always thought that kids needed to be outside doing something productive. Okay. Like, he would always tell me as a kid, get outside, go do something productive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I got sent to the Ridge, I realized, and I looked down at my arm and I realized I was getting really freaking pale. Like my freckles were turning orange even. And I had the thought, oh shit, Dad wouldn't like this. So then I thought, oh shit, Dad wouldn't like this. Like, oh fuck, this might be it. Like, so I wrote home and I said, can you talk to the school about letting us outside more? Because I've only been outside 2 times in the past, or 3 times in the past 4 months. And I knew the school wasn't going to stop that letter because it was, outside time was a privilege that only upper levels got, right? So they were very about it being a privilege. So I knew they were going to let that letter skate by, and I knew my dad would have a very shitty response to it.
Nice.
So I made my dad contact the school because he's a hothead narcissist. So like he contacted the school, like, what the fuck is going on there? And the school was like, what's happening? So the school, they were fighting back and forth, and I think I got expelled.
Okay.
Because it said that I got expelled, and so I don't know if the school was like, holy shit, let's get this little bastard out of here, because he just manipulated the whole system. But so then, yeah, I guess it actually, in my files, I think I was teetering back and forth between going to Jamaica or Bethel. Okay. And that was the two options, and I ended up getting sent to Bethel. Now, the day I got transported, they came and got me out of the gym, and they told me my dad was there, and I was like, oh fuck. Like, I was like, holy shit. So I went and packed my stuff hella quick, and as I was walking down the hallway, I realized there was two men standing there, and one of them was a big ass dude in BDUs and like military attire, and a little shorter gray-haired dude. And I was like, that's not my dad. And they were like, oh shit, this sucks to be you, or some shit like that. And
yeah,
off I went.
Okay. And did you experience intervention or study hall or the no camera room at all at Academy at Ivy Ridge?
So I only, within the Ridge, I heard of the no camera room. I never actually experienced it myself. I did get thrown an intervention a few times. I know each time I chose out a discovery, I ended up in intervention. And then, yeah, I would get a bunch of shit. I have a bunch of cat ones and cat twos just getting referred to me over and over and over again. And so I spent a lot of time going to study hall and coming back to the family, back and forth. So I was never really, like, I wasn't loud or anything like that. I didn't get in trouble that way. I just had upper levels and bunk leaders referring shit to me for being late, like kind of just nonchalant.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
I wasn't picture perfect, you know, like I would just, yeah, a bunch of 101s, 102s. I did get a tattooing at one point. I think I staffed that one, if I remember correctly. I staffed that one for tattooing myself. That's a story. My dad gave him permission to remove layers of skin if need be to get the tattoo off. So like when I went to the nurse station, they actually tried to scrub my tattoo off my arm. What? And they scrubbed all the scabs and stuff off until it bled. But of course they didn't go deep enough to get it all out. But like they did scrub my arm until it bled.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Were you did you have like complications because of that? Like, or did it heal back okay?
I'm actually surprised, yeah, because I've gotten infections from good shop tattoos, you know what I mean? So but no, I got lucky enough it didn't get infected or anything.
And how long were you at Bethel for?
6 months.
6 months? Okay. And what was the program like at Bethel? Because I haven't really heard that much from Bethel. So what was the structure of the program?
So when I first got there, I was on suicide watch again, just like everybody else. It was an open bay. There's 3 buildings that make up our schoolhouse and the barracks, and there's a fence around all 3.
Yeah.
So and then in one building it's 2-story schoolhouse and then a little trailer where I think Alpha Company was, and that's where you try to get to when you're within Bethel. That's like upper levels. You know what I mean? They're the that have been there for a minute and are fucking on their shit. And then there's Bravo Company and Charlie Company, and you go all the way up. You start at Charlie Company, which is on the top story with eval platoon. So you got to test to be. You got to be in eval, and that's where you learn your facing movements. Facing movements and all the terminology, like the lights are the overhead beams, the wall is the bulkhead, the floor is the deck, the windows are the porthole, all Marine language because it's Marine based. And then you learn all that and you test out, and then you're in part of Charlie Company, and that's when you start trying to move along.
Okay. Okay. And do they have seminars there? Is it points and levels? Or is it just like you have to have supportive certain people?
So it was as far as there's like, how do I answer that? When I was there, I didn't think it was a part of W.W.A.S.P.
Okay.
I just didn't. And that's why I actually tried to do good in Bethel, because like they
Yeah.
smoked the dog out of us. And I mean, yeah, they drug kids to the bathroom and all that shit. But like, there wasn't points. There was no mind games. There was no consequences. There was none of that shit. Like, there just wasn't. But apparently even when I got there, it was under W.W.A.S.P's umbrella, but it just, the program just wasn't there, I guess. Okay. So yeah, Steve's over there shaking his head like, yeah, there was none of that when you got there. But then
yeah, you can also chime in after he finishes his thought if you have a thought on it.
I can say, I'll just put this in. When I got there, it was before him, and it was true Bethel. They didn't convert to Eagle Point yet. And I was there when the seminar people came for the first time ever to that place. It's a different program altogether. All I'll say is this: we got through one day. They forced me to go through discovery, even though I had done that crap before. Day two, we're told there's no more seminars. The people left. And they basically, the drill instructors got in an argument telling them this is brainwashing, this is BS, this is total crap, and they ended up kicked out.
Interesting. So they didn't agree with it, and they called it out. They said BS. Yeah. Interesting.
That's what Steve's been trying to tell me this whole time. I didn't know that happened. Like, so I didn't know they actually pushed the program out, and then that means the program when I was there actually came back. So I thought I was home free and away from the seminars this time, so I could do it. Like, I just turned into a little brick shit house, dude. Like, you want to smoke me? Let's fucking do it. I'll do push-ups all day, duck walk all day, whatever. That is better than the mind game that was getting played at the Ridge. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I actually tried to do good and stuff, but then after, we rioted.
Okay, at Bethel?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was weird. Actually, all the schools over there, well, not all of them, but yeah, a couple of them all rioted at the same time. And anyway, yeah, we had our own riot, and I ended up trying to run away from the school. So when the riot happened, all the windows busted out, and I jumped through a window, and I went down the stairway and hopped over the fence, and I was gone. It was like there was 3 other people with me. There was one dude broke off and went his own way, and then 3 of us stayed together, and we tried running through a farmer's field because we knew where the train tracks were. We could hear the train every day. So rumor has it that the school would pay the townspeople to bring us back if they ever saw us or anything like that, but a riot was happening, and it kind of woke up the neighbors of the school. And as we were running through the field, we saw headlights come on and a farmer peel out in his truck, and we were like, oh shit. And we tried to run away, but we tried to jump into the jungle, but because it was dark, we didn't know that the farmer had pushed his brush up against the jungle. So when we jumped the jungle, we actually just landed in his brush pile.
Oh no.
And sure shit, three trucks come up and corner us, and these are all guys in Mississippi. They're all shit kickers from Mississippi, dude. So we didn't know if they had guns. We were 15 and rowdy, so
yeah.
We complied, got back in the truck, and got brought back to the school. And then after that riot is when W.W.A.S.P actually came back, and they some kids off because we destroyed part of the barracks, so they couldn't house all of us anymore. So they shipped some of us off, and then kept some of us. And those of us who stayed there there's a whole switch that happened. Like, the DIs moved over to the trailer, and the trailer became eval platoon. And then there were actual instructors there that tried to do the military thing, but kind of sucked at it. And then Yeah, and then we started doing seminars again, and I had to opt out of Discovery a few more times, and luckily the school didn't know how to treat that. And this time I actually did it on my own. I was like, I'm not doing this culty weird brainwashing crap. Like, I just stood up on day one and I was like, I'm not doing this. But the school didn't know how to treat me when I did that, because I was the only kid that like that knew what the
Yeah.
fuck was. So yeah, and so I just was able to go back to my platoon and nothing happened to me. But the last time I did it, they did bear down on me because they were, I guess, I don't know who told them to start pushing the program, but they did bear down on me and I did get smoked. But yeah.
Okay. And when you're saying smoked, what do you mean by that? They just do like drills of exercises or what?
Yeah, excessive exercise. It's
Okay.
extreme, like excessive exercise. Shit, Steve, we did like 300 push-ups every sitting. Something fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Did you guys ever do the push-ups where you'd be in like a big circle and you'd have to like do like one down up and then hold it up in the up position, like hold your body up, and then you have to go around in the circle and you have to sound off, and if any of you fall on the floor, you have to restart? Did you guys ever do anything like that?
Not that, but we did down, up, half, hold it, or maybe 2 minutes later, up.
Okay,
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing. Pretty much the same thing.
They had
But it's like they'll like the instructors will sit there for like 30 seconds and just make you hold that position, and then they'll be like down, and they'll do that. So you're pushing for like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, that's pretty much
And-
the same thing, but a different technique. That's fucking crazy.
because
That's insanity.
because it was a barracks setting. Like, there was 2 rows of us, right? So sometimes instead of doing facing the center and going up and down like this, they'd have us turn parallel to the bay and put our feet on each other's shoulders. So it was a whole line of what you were just talking about.
Okay, so that sounds very similar to what I'm talking about. Okay, interesting. And you'd have to pretty much hold all of your weight and do the. Okay. Interesting. It's very interesting how they integrate these same things, but sometimes they make very minor differences. It's like, no, it's not this, but yes, it is that. It is that. It's the same thing. Okay. What made you go home from Bethel? Did you get pulled? What happened?
My dad, being who he is, I think he just decided to pull me because in my first initial contract that he signed, it was a year, my commitment letter was a year, and I'm up on the 11-month mark. So, and I think there was another change going. I think maybe the school's name change or something, another one of those was happening. So like my dad probably didn't want to, I don't think he wanted to sign another contract.
Yeah, for another year.
Right.
Year. Yeah.
Right. So like I really think that's what saved. It's just his lack of wanting to sign another contract. He probably didn't want to pay anymore.
Yeah.
In his mind, I was gone for a year, so maybe I have made some behavior changes, and maybe I'm a new kid. I don't know. So
Okay.
I think I lucked out.
Did they try and push a life contract on you before you went home? Something that you would abide by, living by?
No, I actually can't even remember how I got to the airport. Yeah, that wasn't a significant moment that made an impact, so my brain didn't remember it.
Okay, no problem. And what was the hardest part about reintegrating into society? What have you struggled with the most since the program?
So, dude, fuck, it's costed me a lot over the years. Like, it's blowing my mind because this whole time, shit, I did. This is why I wrote a book. So I got home. I only lasted at home for 2 weeks. And then I told my dad that I've probably pretty much been doing everything he never wanted me to do. I've just been lying about it for the last 2 weeks. And he let me, my whole fight throughout my whole childhood was going to live with my biological mother because I was adopted. She was loving and caring and all that good stuff. And I knew her, and my dad was not. So obviously, naturally, as a kid, that was one of the big fights, me going to live with my biological mom. So I only lasted like 2 weeks there, and then when at my dad's house, and then I was sent to my mom's. He actually let me go finally, because I was about to turn 17. So yeah, he let me go. And then because I had no credits, my mom tried to put me in school, and I just could. It was like climbing Mount Everest, dude. I didn't think I was gonna ever get my diploma, because I was already 2 years into high school, but with no credits. So I was gonna try to jam 4 years of high school into 2 years of high school, because in my mind, keep in mind, I never expected ever anybody to cater to me or help me. So this actually wasn't even a discussion between me and my mom. I don't know if she would have like helped me. Well, of course she would have helped me graduate, or at least let me stay at home until I was 20 or something, so I can finish high school. That thought just didn't. I never even thought to ask that. So in my mind, I needed to be ready to be an adult by the time I was 18.
Yeah.
So I decided when I got to my mom's, I decided to drop out, and she's not a wealthy person. So we lived in a trailer in Sun Valley, Nevada. She just wasn't a wealthy person. So I was like, hey mom, I can drop out of high school, get a job, and help. You know what I mean? And that kind of was what I did. And then I got my girlfriend pregnant and joined the military. So I went from the schools to the construction world. You're allowed to act tough and be tough and fucking whatever in the construction world. You know what I mean? Then I joined the military, and that's where you're supposed to be tough. They're supposed to tell you how to shoot guns and go to fucking war, dude. And then after the military, I was a truck driver. And then because I just worked a lot, so I didn't really have to communicate with anybody ever. So, but throughout years, I had all those jobs, so I was successful. I could be who I was. I wasn't. Maybe a few people I interacted with thought I might be a prick or an asshole or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I was okay. In my interpersonal relationships with my family, though, I'm 2 divorces deep and have 4 kids because marriage and it's just hard. Like the way I never knew I was in survival mode or had PTSD or any of these things. So I was just a complete prick. I can admit that within my house. Like I never laid hands on my kids or anything like that, like my dad did, but I still wasn't much better when it came to, like, I guess yelling and being a hardcore like prick. So in my, and because it's really hard to actually step out of your body and look at yourself, and or even like Catherine put it so perfectly, what happened to me. Like you don't think that, because that's it, the way I've grown up. It was normal, so why would I ever have that thought? But yeah, found out that all the shit my dad put me through in those schools did a lot more damage than I ever could have thought. Like I thought I was just getting good, weathering trauma. I thought I was just good at it. I didn't know it had actually affected me throughout all these years.
Yeah, I feel that. Where you kind of answered it already, but have your parents watched the program, or has your dad watched the program?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know. Dad has. My mom has. Yes.
Okay. Have you talked to her about it at all?
She didn't have anything to do with me going to the program at all. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. My mom's up Gen Xer, but she totally feels for me. I think she feels guilty because, well, even though she put me up for adoption, it really kind of wasn't her choice. She was 14.
Yeah.
So it wasn't her choice, but she still, she did say, "For the life I gave you," in a sentence. And I'm like, come on, like I'm not blaming that. No, you know what I mean. So that's I imagine she feels guilty, even though she's not the one. She can't even be to blame.
Yeah, I was adopted at birth, and my birth mother, when she found out that my parents sent me off to boarding school, she was infuriated.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I can only imagine.
She is.
What do you think would have helped you instead of sending you to the program?
That's a hard one, dude. I mean, I think I was just better off with my mom, dude. My dad, I mean, and yeah, that would have helped me. If he had actually just, I wish he would have given up on me and just let me go with my mom sooner. But instead, he was a narcissist. So how do you get, how do you convince a narcissist to do something that they don't think is, you know what I mean? I don't know how to word it.
It's extremely hard, if not impossible, to do that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience at either of these schools, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
It's just not the answer. I mean, it's just not, you shouldn't, that word should is hard because that leads to opinion, but I don't believe that you should ever send your kids somewhere, because if you guys are struggling within a relationship, it takes two, man. It's not just your kid's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're the adult and they're the developing mind.
Yep.
You have to, and it takes two.
Yep. You can't just have 50% going in. You got to have the 100%.
Yeah, family therapy exists, and if you want your relationship to work with your child, if you want that to happen, then it will happen. You'll absorb what they tell you in family therapy, and you guys will have the relationship you want. Like, but if you don't want it to happen, it's I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be able to control the situation.
Yeah, definitely not. Okay. Well, Steve, let's start with you. Let's start with your childhood and what led up to you going to the, well, first of all, introduce yourself and where you went.
All right. Hi, my name is Stephen Casimo. I went to Ivyridge in 03 to 04, 13 months, and then I was at Bethel for 5 months.
Okay. And walk us through your childhood a little bit and what led up to you going to the program.
Childhood, I lost my dad at 7.
Sorry to hear that.
So it was basically just my mom, my sister, and myself. That messed me up as a child, gave me issues, I think people. It was like a double whammy for me. I'll never forget the name. I had a best friend. He was like my first best friend in my life. His name was Luke, and we left like a week after he died. I didn't even get to say goodbye. So like I lost 2 important people in my life at 7 years old. So I became very socially awkward, got into my own little world. I was ADHD as a kid. Growing up, it became more of like a battle at home. Outside of home, I didn't really have issues. I was special ed, so I was in like those classes and stuff like that. Going into my teenage years, I got bullied as a kid, in school, but I was in martial arts. So if I ever had to like defend myself, I could, but I never actually allowed myself to get in that position. I would always lash out with my tongue. And I remember my school district kicked me out. They awarded the bullies and kicked out the one that they were picking on. Makes sense, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and I have all the paperwork and stuff. So it's just like, wow. Wasn't a bad kid. I mean, at home, I had behavior issues. I had a problem with authority, didn't really want to listen to my mom, used my grandpa to get me out of trouble. But outside, academically, I was good. I had all A's and B's. I was National Honor Society for like 3 years in a row. I was doing martial arts, hockey, silver patrol. But in the home, it was hell. I didn't like being home. It was like me and my sisters always at war. We're always at each other's throats trying to set each other up to get in trouble and stuff like that. Mom's always yelling at us. So it was like never peaceful. I remember vacations growing up. We went on a couple cruises. And I'd purposely ditch my mom and sister and actually have my own time like my own vacation. And I'd always cry coming back because it's like snap back to reality. You know, this is reality. So when I went to Ivy Ridge in 2003, I was not, already had like abandonment issues, rejection issues. I was already dissociating, meaning I was spacing out all the time. I was in my own fantasy world. I'd pick a topic and I'd run with it for hours and just stay in my head. And that was how I would escape my reality. That's basically what led me up to it. But yeah, I was playing hockey and stuff, and I was sent for behavior issues at home.
Okay. And did you know you were going to go there? And how did you get there?
So I knew my mom was trying to get me into a school. She took me to West Point. They rejected me because of my behavior issues at home and my ADHD. She took me to a place outside of, it's not Williamsburg.
Okay.
Outside of Williamsburg, there was like a school, and these were not T.T.I schools. I mean, we had West Point, military. This other one was like a special ed, but not quite. It would have been incredible. They had horses there, everything. Boarding school, we lived there. It was not a program. They didn't accept me. They didn't think I'd fit in. So socially awkward. So my psychiatrist showed the brochure to my mom.
Okay. Interesting.
I haven't been in therapy since.
I can imagine why.
Yeah. Now it's, yeah.
Did you get transported?
So thankfully, not to Ivy Ridge, but to Bethel I was. So to Ivy Ridge, I don't remember what my mom exactly said, but she didn't tell me exactly where we were going either. So we just drove up, and she basically took me in and dropped me off. And that's where I met my Hope buddy. They took me to get my uniform, all this stuff, shampoo. Here, you're going to need this, this, and this. Had to go to the nurse. They had to drug test me, and they lied about my drug test and stuff like that, which I have. And that was the start of hell.
Did you how long after you got there did it take for things to fully sink in and for you to be like, where the fuck am I?
Probably within the first 24 to 48 hours. Really probably after going to bed and waking up and going through an entire day. So me being socially awkward, I shared stories about my past. Who's who. I flew a plane at 14. See, I lied to the pilot. I had Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I told him, I was like, I'm logged 600 hours. And the truth is, I don't know how many hours I had. I just knew that airplane inside and out. So he tested me and he gave me a seat. He sat in the co-pilot seat. I got to fly at 14. People didn't believe that. And so I was seen as a liar. So like yourself, I was immediately a target by my peers and staff. And when staff didn't like you, it was a different kind of program. And so that happened very early on. Very early on. And people would refer me consequences left and right. And almost like to make me go to sheets so I didn't have to be around them.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so was the majority of your program really difficult and you got consequenced a lot?
So basically it's this. Eventually I broke and I tried. And I tried as hard as I could. Unlike Colin, I legitimately just wanted the pain and hurt to stop. I wanted to try. I got to level 2. That's the most I ever did. And that really never happened again until it was just given to me. Basically, so to paint the picture for you, I would try eventually give up because my peers and the staff, eventually they'd break me again. So I'd try. This went on for probably 4 to 5, maybe 6 months. Then I remember, my sister was there. So my mom wanted me to do a PC1 with me, and she kept pressing for it. So eventually they put me through, even though I had no points. So what they did was they gave me 300 points in level 2. I don't remember taking a challenge. There was no challenge. I don't think there was. I probably would not have passed the challenge. My family, and this is coming from other people, made it a game to see how quick they could make me lose those points and send me back to worksheets. And that was the moment that broke me for good, where I was like, F this, F it, F you, F everyone. I started actually sabotaging myself. Not to a point where I'd get restrained, even though I was probably restrained more than 100 times. Like, that was so common for me. But I would get back to the family. I would get back to worksheets because it was safer there. Less rules, not watching your back all the time. Sit, don't make any noise. Don't refuse, and you'd be all right. You know, that's easy compared to the 10,000 rules they had. You know, I've gotten so many out of controls. What was that, Cat 4, Cat 5?
Yep. I think out of control is actually Cat 5, I think.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
At the program I was at, because they can out of control, like we have to call support staff usually. For an out
I think it was like the first,
ridiculous.
The first one. Isn't the first one like 501?
It might be.
I think it is 501, actually.
I think you're right.
It's either 501 or 504. 504 comes to my mind, too.
That rings a bell.
And another one was insubordination. Wasn't that Cat 4?
Yeah, Cat 4 was insubordination, yep. Yeah. I think insubordination was like, I want to say 401.
I think so. You're actually right on that.
Yeah, these things are, some of these things are just fucking drilled into my brain, man. I can't get them out no matter how hard I try.
I know tattoo.
201 and 205 is in my head. And 308. Yeah. You can remember a 308 BRV.
Yeah, blatant rule violation. And then if you got like a bunch of Cat 1s, then they would stack it to a Cat 3 at the program. Like, it's because you get grouped consequences. So if you got like multiple, they'd be like, okay, that's a Cat 3, and then they'd be like Cat 4 when you get even more, and then they go up to Cat 5. It was ridiculous.
A trend. You'd get a
trend. Yep, that's what it was called. So, yep.
I have a paper in my file that shows stacked for one day. I did over negative 860 points in one day. Negative.
That's crazy. What were you going to say, Colin?
Oh, I think it was like 3. You get 3 of the same thing, and then you get a Cat 2 trend.
I think it's Cat. Yep.
Yeah.
So it adds up. So you got like 15. That's a deduction of 15 points already, and then you get a deduction of 25. And then 40 altogether, right? Yeah.
And then if it's staff corrected, then it's even more points.
Yeah.
And they can staff anything for whatever reason. Like if literally you look at them like sideways, the second they say self-correct, staff corrected, you looked at me funny. Yeah. You know, the first word out of your mouth wasn't self-correct, staff corrected. Mm-hmm. Or they just don't like you, staff corrected. It's crazy.
Well, I used to staff that. I used to cuss them out. You know,
me too.
Staff it. Yeah, effing this, effing I. You know, it became very common. I think I did that to Colin. And I think I said the whole thing. I don't want to say it here, but I was like, staff that shit, yeah, effing biatch.
Yeah.
I had a moment like, wait, I remember that. Because I'd be really loud. And I'm actually in the documentary, in the footage, but not getting restrained. I'm the person backing away from it. And I remember the staff, they looked for any reason to put you down. Any reason. You flinch, they're going to put you on the ground.
Yeah.
And I remember we were walking by the gym, heading to the dorms. And the door starts to open. like this, and I hit it like that with the back of my fist. I wasn't trying to hit it hard, just like tap it. Well, boom. I'm not going to say names. Two staff, which are two staff you do not mess with, coming out that door. And Mr. E looked at me. I flinched. He grabbed me up and had me on the ground so quick it wasn't even funny. And another survivor, we're friends to this day, he's got real balls. Yells across it's a family crossing by opposite end of the hallway. You almost hit him with the door, a-hole. It got off me, took him down. Let me get back in line as if nothing happened. No consequences, nothing. No paperwork. There's nothing on this. And I just went about the day.
Reminds me of a lion. It's just like, oh, there's new prey. There's literally new prey. I'm gonna go pounce on it.
Earlier, you had mentioned the no camera room. I have one experience in that room, but I was not brutally beat up in there. I have a lot more experience in there, but not in where, oh, you're being brought in to get restrained. That was one time. I actually I have these incident reports, and I finally remember it. I'm sitting in worksheets, and I didn't feel safe in there. There was a couple kids in there that liked to pick on me, and one of them was kind of being threatening. So I ran out of worksheets, ran into the no camera room and shut the door. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to isolate. I wanted to be alone.
Wow.
They break their way in and they slam me to the ground. Back in worksheets. 25, 30 minutes go by. I do the same exact thing. This time, I sat down in the middle of the floor after I shut the door in Indian style. So this time I did not get restrained. Person came in. I remember who came in now. Person came in and looked, and I was like, I'm not trying to run. I just want to be alone. And so they sat at the door and let me stay in there. As I was isolating already in that place, because it was like I didn't feel safe anywhere. I had allies, and I remember those allies today. And all the people that picked on me and made my program hell, if you're a survivor, it's no hard feelings. I've already talked to those people, and we're great. We're good today. But my program was a lot different because of that. And funny story, I got kicked out for hitting a staff member.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I slapped him. He choked me up against the wall. I had martial arts training, so I used it. Took his hand off. On the fourth try, I did a left block and swung. Open hand across the face. That was a warning. And I connected pretty hard. And he went to go come, and I swung again and missed and nipped his nose. Backed up. 5 seconds later, he was like stuck. 5 seconds later, he yells at the family to get out of there. Told me to get out of his face. And it all stemmed over me and another student. We were horse playing, slap boxing. And everybody was there laughing, including the staff.
Of course.
And as soon as I connected on his face finally, that's when he chose to attack me. Within 24 hours, I was out. But for that last 4, 5, 6 months of my stay at Ivy Ridge, I transferred from Unity family to Loyalty. I don't know most of the people from that picture. I have of me with Loyalty family. I don't know most of them. I was in worksheets that much. So.
Yeah, your story is very, very similar. It almost mirrors mine. I rebelled for the first year, 12 months I was there. Until they threatened me with Jamaica and told me they were going to send me there and just tell my parents afterwards the paperwork had already been signed. And so I was the same thing, getting removed every day, going to intervention, study hall, I would just say, fuck it, staff it every single time. I just didn't care for the first for 12 months. And so I would, I preferred like being in study hall or intervention, whatever it was. But I also enjoyed fucking like getting a candy bar. So I would like try and maintain my level 2, like at the very minimum. And then just so I could get that candy bar. It's fucking crazy what they make
I think I
you
got
do.
that twice or once.
Wait, that's kind of a good explanation too. Like that's kind of where I did hit a moment where I did give up, but I never gave up enough to like not. I kind of floated. We all like right where you were able to get a candy bar every once in a while, but then like sometimes you'd miss it, and then like you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you weren't gonna put yourself super deep into the hole either, like where you were like negative points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just floated right around
negative.
right around 0, and sometimes level 2. Like,
Yep.
I got so negative in points that they put me at 0 every day. They reset points every day. Like
I remember they used to do that. Yep. If you got a certain number of negative points, they'd be like, fuck it, whatever.
I don't think I had negative 1,700 points at one time.
That's like, fucking insanity.
That'd take you 2 years just to get out of that hole.
Yeah. If you had to like work back every single one of those points.
You're lucky to get 17 points a day. If that, on average, what was 15, 16, you would score yourself just so that they wouldn't challenge it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you gave yourself all perfect, they'd be like, there ain't no fucking way you're perfect. Ain't nobody perfect. You didn't, and then they'd probably give you consequence for thinking that you did do it perfect.
Yep.
How long after you got there did you go through your first seminar, and how many seminars did you make it through at Academy at Ivy Ridge?
So I did, all right, so now I do remember, Colin, so I'll finally be able to say this. I did orientation, discovery, focus, and then breakpoint, and then PC1.
Okay.
So I think after focus, you have to be level 3, or was it level 3 to be focused? I was put through focus even as a level 0. Level 1, 0 points. Graduated that, no tutu for me. We dressed up as who's the guys with the white face paint, metal band?
Kiss?
Kiss, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
You had to do the skit. Breakpoint was because I don't think I could make it into the next seminar because of my level. And then PC1, I went to it just because my mom kind of forced it.
Interesting. Do you remember your IM statement at all?
It's from the seminar.
Yeah, the one that they made you like formulate.
I am blank certain person. No, I don't.
Okay,
but I know it's in my file.
Okay. And let's see. So when you went to Bethel, how did that whole thing happen? Like, why did you end up going to Bethel?
So when I slapped the staff member, because after I said F it, like, you do what you want to me, I got to that point where I don't care. Just don't go near my neck, was where I was at. Do what you want, restrain me. I don't care at this point. I literally gave up. I snapped. And so when he went after my throat and everything like that, they put me in isolation. They calmed me down and stuff like that afterwards. Upper level talked to me and stuff. I never got restrained. Apparently, I am a legend at Ivy Ridge because I'm the only student in history to hit a staff member and not get beat up for it, to actually get away with it. So I'm kind of proud of that.
Nice.
For something like us, like that's leaving on is kind of a big deal to me. So yeah, that's cool. It was the next day. It was after dinner. It was probably between 6 and 7 p.m. Transporters arrived. I'm in isolation in the no camera room. And they come and get me. They bring me to the front. George Tulip, Jason Finlinson. Oh well, I said names, that's okay. No, yeah, George Tulip and Jason Finlinson was standing there. 2 transporters. I think I might have had one of the same guys as Colin did. They were older, but I didn't have a drill instructor come for the first. These are 2 locals from Lucedale, Mississippi, and they did a favor for the school. So they drove up. Jason or George, one of the 2, was like, go ahead and cuff him. Transporters looked at me and said, no, look at him. He's not going anywhere. And I just looked at them like, yeah, please, I want to get out of here. I was very compliant. I assured him I'm not running. So went on a drive. It took me to a gas station, let me buy whatever the heck I wanted. I got magazine, I got candy, I got soda. There was no limit. They were very nice, treated me humanly, heard me out, let me talk. Slept throughout the night. In the morning, we went to a buffet down south, had my first Southern food, and I ate a lot of food.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, I went ham. Like, it was weird because seminar, PC1, I couldn't handle that food. It was too rich, too heavy. I ate a quarter of that plate, and I couldn't eat no more of that. I was used to freaking worksheet food.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. So, got to Bethel, and that we had more freedom there. First 2 weeks is orientation, boot camp. White shirt, camo pants. You're in the top bunk in the first barracks. You'd wake up early. Huh?
This is where yours and my story are going to differ. This is because you got Bethel and I got Eagle
Point. Bethel experience. I have the real Bethel experience.
Yeah, you got Bethel and I got Eagle Point.
Yeah. So it was like my 3rd night there, and all we had to do was like 50 push-ups. And somebody would always screw up, or the drill instructor just wanted to keep us pushing. I actually kept count. And I remember I stopped counting at 250.
Is that total for a group, or is that just like individual people? Like, does the entire group have to do all their push-ups?
No, we're doing it at the same time. Down. Up.
Okay.
Down.
Yeah.
Up.
The DI would pace back and forth up and down the bay saying up, down, up, down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And sometimes he'd say up, and he'll hold that for 15 seconds. That gave you a chance to stretch your arms a little bit. You'd pop your butt up, kind of like a downward dog in yoga, and that would stretch your lats and stuff like that. Everything that was kind of tightening up. I walked around with my arms like this because I couldn't bring them to my side. There was so much lactic acid in my arms. I remember that first week I picked up a fork and I had to bring my mouth to the fork. I could not bring my fork to my face.
You go like this, it stretches right here. And you're like,
that couldn't. It was too tight.
Yeah.
Like this and have to force my arm shut.
Yeah.
And even 3 seconds later, it's back to what it was. It's like pointless. Eventually you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Your muscles get used to it, and it doesn't affect like that anymore. The most brutal thing was that duck walk around the field while holding your hands on the top of the shoulders of the person from you.
Yeah, duck walk train.
Yeah, that hurt. That one hurt
a lot.
Oh yeah, that was yeah. But torture is the word for it.
It is. Yeah.
But
does it even like work out? Like, what does it even work out?
You're working out. I don't know the muscle name, so I'm gonna get it.
It's your thighs, but it really takes
your calves.
Yeah, I want to say it's your thighs and calves and stuff. You're walking like a duck, but I think the toll it takes though is on your knees. Like
that's what I would.
Like when you're doing that and you're bouncing, and it just hurts your knees, dude. Your knees are cartilage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but going like that for hours, you'd obviously, like, every once in a while a kid would stand up because you just have to stand up, dude.
Yeah.
or we would have to hold 7 inches, our legs off the ground for 5 to 7 inches.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
I remember that shit.
5
Yeah.
to 10 minutes was the average. 10 minutes more so. Like 7 minutes was easy for us to hold 5 inches. And we just sit there. We'd have our hands under our butt, cupped, gave us extra leverage on our spine, prevented the lower back from hurting. And you just hold it as long as you could. And it was like average 7, 8 minutes. I ended up aging out after 3 months there. I turned 18. So the day before my 18th birthday, I waited till around 4 o'clock. 4:30, I went and talked to the counselor in the administration office, which was a house at the bottom of the hill. Went to him and talked to him. I was like, listen, tomorrow I turn 18. I don't want anybody to know this. I was like, if you tell any of the drill instructors, I'm in trouble. Like, I don't want to get singled out. I don't want to get targeted. I do not want to get smoked. I was like, but I want to stay. I want to do some more school. I want to try to finish what I can. What does this mean for me? And she was like, well, you will no longer be in her jurisdiction. You'll be allowed to come and go as you please. I'm like, wait, really? This is what I was hoping to hear. And so I asked him, I was like, okay, what do I do tomorrow morning? He was like, just let the drill instructor know. And we'll confirm it when we come in. So the drill instructor comes in. He was actually the cool one. And so none of them were necessarily cool. He was more reasonable. Came in, threw a chair across the room, wake up, get on the line, and I didn't. I stayed in bed. So he comes over to my rack and he's like, what do you think you're doing? I said all like politely and proper. I was like, sir, could I cast mode? Turned 18 today. No respect, but I'm no longer in your jurisdiction. Something on the lines of that. And he basically,
That is the only memory I have of you. Steve's and my time overlaps literally by 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
And I remember him, and there he was the kid next in the corner with a blanket on the wall up in front of the window, and I remember this day like that. I remember his silhouette under his blankets and him saying those words. I can't remember this kid's face at all, but because we only overlapped that amount.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, he basically said like, yo, you better not be lying to me, boy. I was like, no, sir, I would not do that. I respect you. And he's like, okay, go take a seat at the desk. And I don't remember how much time went. I just know he PT'd everybody like normal, did the whole thing. Eventually, he got word and he was like, all right, you're good. And I went and got the money, I think from the office. My grandpa sent $100. Walked to Walmart, walked around Walmart just to feel like a human freaking being. Walked to McDonald's, got some food or got some Mexican food or something. I forget what I ate. It was one of the two. And yeah, from that point on, I was free. I was not in the program anymore.
Nice.
And I had blankets and sheets that would cover the bottom bunk so that the lights come on in the morning. I could sleep in. Listen, 16 months in a program at this point. I didn't care. At this point, it's like every man for themselves. So I didn't care about, oh, well, I'm 18 now, so I want my comfort. Now I look back at it and I like, dang, Colin, was I a jerk? Was I a dick for that?
No, I don't remember. Like I said, I have that flash of a memory of you, and I don't know why, because I knew you were 18, but I still got scared when you said that.
Nobody knew I was turning 18.
Well,
Nobody.
I know that, but like I was afraid of how the DI was gonna react.
Oh,
like,
I think everybody.
Yeah, I got scared for you. But I mean, if you think about it, at the time, like it doesn't go through in your brain. But yeah, if he would have reacted poorly, you just call the cops and. But you know what I mean. But
I mean, I mean, because nobody had the balls to do that. You don't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, also is a big reason why he didn't react negatively, because it's like, it's not logical
Yeah.
to staff like that. It just doesn't make sense, because you're just going to get really hurt, and everybody knows that. So yeah, I guess I got lucky on that front.
How long did you end up staying after you were 18?
December. I left in March.
So about 3 months.
About 3 months. Yeah, right before the riot happened. And just as an FYI, the food there was actually decent.
Yeah, what was your favorite food? What was your favorite thing to eat there?
I don't remember much of the food. I'll never forget the pasta and the egg rolls. The egg rolls were bomb. They were awesome, dude. They served them out of this giant pot during lunch with something else. I forget what would be with it. Like, you literally left the dining hall full. Every meal, you're full.
What were you going to say, Colin?
I said I got pig's feet and collard greens.
Damn.
I never got pig's feet.
That's because it was an abnormal meal. I remember it. So like, because we didn't get it all the time, I was like, holy shit! Like, this is the first and only time I've ever eaten pig's feet and collard greens.
How was it?
You mentioned that was really good.
I think it was good. Yeah.
You
Wow.
like that? I don't like pig's feet. I don't know. It's all cartilage.
Well, compared to what we've been eating, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I would still buy to this day. I'll never forget from Ivyridge. They were not even breaded. They had little grill marks on them. It was chicken teriyaki nuggets. We would get sometimes for lunch at Ivyridge. And those are amazing.
Were they like coated with like bread? Like what kind of like nuggets would be, or?
It's like regular grilled chicken, not breaded at all. But it was flavored heavily with, like, it was infused in it, teriyaki flavor. It was just perfect. To this day, if I could find it, I would buy it. I would totally snack.
Dang. That sounds dang. All right. What was the hardest part for you about reintegrating into society when you got back? What did you struggle with the most?
Oh, I just lived my lost years. So when I went to Ivyridge, because I was in special education, stuff like that, I was actually mentally a lot younger than I really was. So I went into Ivyridge as a 16-year-old, but I was mentally 12, 13. And I looked it. It wasn't just that I acted. I looked it. I looked like a 12, 13-year-old at the time. I've always looked 5, 6 years younger than I. I'm adopted. I was adopted at 5, taken with the family at 3. So I think that makes 3 of us.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I was 18 and a half. Came home, ended up meeting some old friends and stuff like that, people I used to know, hung out. But it was like I ended up hanging as 18-year-old, turning 19 in a few months. I was with 16-year-olds. And that was my mental level. Like, that was, and there's nothing wrong with that. I looked the age. And so, yeah, and it's somewhat of a way, I got my lost time back. But I lost all the opportunities I had for my future. It was then that I started to build friend groups. I made friends with people who were goth, who were punk, hip hop crowd. It didn't really matter. I didn't really have a group I fit in. I just got along with most different people. But these waves would start to hit. And my friends got used to me disappearing for 2-3 months at a time. Stay at home, play video games, watch TV, not go out, not talk to anybody. And that has affected my life up till now.
I feel that. I struggle with the same thing.
One thing that kind of
I'm
burned its
so sorry, bro. That shit's a hard struggle.
one thing as you're listening to your story, like about reintegrating, the moment you get home, like I don't know, you guys probably both did it. You go into your bedroom and you kind of just sit on your bed and stare at the wall and you don't know what to do with yourself for a very long time.
Yeah, it took me years. I still don't really know what to do with myself. I'm kind of
Right.
figuring it out now, but like,
Right.
you know?
But like in that moment, you just sit on your bed because literally every part of your life was dictated for so long that
Mhm.
like when your parents don't think anything of it, they go, here, welcome home, and then they vote nah, and then they go off and do their own thing and they leave you there because they leave you there, but then you literally don't know what to do because you're waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, like because they
Yeah.
just for
And then in my case, that and the trauma that I suffered ended up me using hard drugs for fucking like 10 years. So, I mean, I just went down that rabbit hole. I just didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to remember anything. I just didn't want to. And even when people would be like, oh, what happened? Like you can talk about it. Be like, my kind of trauma, like, I don't think you can understand. Like, unless you went to the same kind of people I went, like.
I just actually took a peek because, like I said, I just got actually woken up, dude, by the documentary. So
Yeah.
I just went to the VA and took a PTSD test because it's standard. Like when they gave me a software, I told them what the hell was up. They referred me over to the psych side. They gave me the 3 common questionnaires for anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it turned out like I ended up with moderate depression. I didn't even know I had it. Extreme anxiety, and my PTSD level doesn't register on a normal PTSD questionnaire.
Yeah.
Like everybody else's, all of us who have CPTSD, it doesn't register. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody's mentioned that on here yet, but yeah, like it's a different thing. So like when people are like, "Want to talk about it?" You can't.
It's like, where the fuck do I even start? Like,
We're out.
really, where the fuck do I start?
Yeah,
Like, you want me to start like in my childhood where everything went wrong, kind of like what you asked at the beginning before we started the interview, or
Right.
like, do you want me to start like at the boarding school where like I still can't
We're
explain it? Everything was taken from me, like everything about yourself like is just dictated, like you were saying. You know what I mean? Like completely, like it. And so, how do you even describe that to somebody? And even if you do describe it, you weren't there. You didn't feel the feelings that I felt. You don't know how it felt to be there for that fucking long.
Earlier I mentioned that I haven't seen a psychiatrist since. Well, shamefully, I'm going to admit that I didn't know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist deals with medicine. They're incentivized to prescribe medicine for little, commissions and stuff. While a psychologist is truly there to help you. They're not profiting off of you, right?
Well, for the most part, there's still bad ones, but yeah, for the most part, they're there because they want to help. Yes.
So I'm currently seeking out and trying to find one that so I can get properly diagnosed. I lost 80% of my memories. Watching the documentary, seeing myself in the documentary is what was the catalyst to unlocking my memory. And for 2 weeks, I was in a complete fog because it was just 24 hours of memory surfacing, having to process, having to deal with it, feeling it. And it's the most bizarre thing because it's like, to give you an example, I'm laying in bed and I have a flashback. My flashbacks are still scenes, frozen time. And I'm in the hallway. When you went into the entrance of Ivy Ridge and you looked dead ahead, at the very end of the hallway to the left was dorms, but the area to your right was the gym. So imagine you're about halfway down that hallway, standing against the wall because you were in line, and you see a staff member sitting at a desk in the hallway with an upper level. Perfect, pristine hair. Spiked hair, pristine uniform, but fuzzy on the face details. so I come out of it, snap out of it 15, 20 seconds later, and I'm sitting there trying to like, what just happened? Who is that? And his name flashed in front of me in letters because I'm a visual thinker. And when his name flashed, I just started leaking. And I'm sitting here, I'm not even sobbing. I'm just like, what's going on? And I'm just crying. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm getting emotions, and I can't figure this. I can't justify it. There's no actual memories tied to those. I just remembered how he made me feel. It took between 24 and 48 hours for me to remember him and to remember those reasons. So it's like you remember how something made you feel, and then you'll remember what's behind those. And so there was like 2 or 3 weeks of that. Now it's I remember most of it.
That's where you and I were talking a lot, trying to unlock a lot.
God, yeah, we were. Whew. Especially with Bethel, because Bethel was the one place I was like.
But that's going to be hard. Like for you and I, that's hard though, because you were there when it was Bethel. I came when it was Eagle Point. There are similarities, but even in the time you were there and the time I was there, like the organization of where everything was switched. Like I said, like it's almost like when it switched from Bethel to Eagle Point, like they moved people around and changed companies around. And then when I was there, when W.W.A.S.P bared down on us finally, they switched again. They reorganized everything again. So it's like, even though you and I were in the same school, like I'm not much help because a lot was changing a lot at that place. Like I think even after me, it underwent 2 more name changes.
Yeah, and it's all by design. You know, I think they meant for it to be confusing like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually, I got moved to the trailer with the upper. What was that, Charlie? Charlie. And so I was there when they moved the staff in there. I left shortly after that, and I think I remember. I think I'm getting a flash right now. Is I'm. Did they ever PT you guys inside that trailer in lines and rows?
Well, yeah, that's
Did
where
they, like you would be like row here, people stay in front, like 3 or 4 rows of people, and you would get down and be PTing, not like 1 or 2 rows in front of your racks, more like in a section, and you do some PT.
like a formation.
Kind of, yeah.
Like
I'm remembering them spinning in that trailer once. I think right before I left, there was an orientation class. I think I left right when they changed it. Like probably within days of it, like because I remember that.
Well, with your leave date though, that no.
Yeah, because it was like a week later, maybe weeks later, you guys rioted.
Yeah. So with your leave date and my start date, like we weren't there very. Our time only overlaps by like a couple weeks, but I voluntarily went back to the trailer when W.W.A.S.P bared down. I fucking one time one of the instructors said something stupid to me because they actually kind of went on board and they were better to us, but they still weren't great. And then he said something stupid to me and I flipped out and I kicked the door open and walked to eval and asked drill instructor, I don't want to say his name because I don't know. Uh-oh. TV just turned on. But I don't want to say his name, but like I went at parade rest and asked him to return to eval because I didn't want to deal with W.W.A.S.P. He let me come back to eval.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Have your parents seen the program?
My mom did watch it. Yeah, she had some difficulties with that because she had questions when she was at PC1. She's retired now, but she was a speech therapist. She worked in the education system. And so there were some flags that she was questioning, but they brushed it out under the rug in such a way that was so manipulative that made her not question it. So she beat herself up for a little bit, like, how could I not see it? You know, she reassured me and my sister that she would have pulled us out. like right there on the spot. Like if she had any inkling of what was really going on, we would have been out of there in a heartbeat, literally. And I believe that. Because my mom tried to put me in 2 other schools, my mom was trying to help me. She wasn't trying to hurt me. So the people that fought is the people that created that brochure and fooled everybody thinking we're going to ride some horses and speedboat. What speedboat? What horses?
Yeah.
Where were their horses? Like, come on.
Like, where did you even film this? Where the horses are? Like, where is this?
Like sitting on the waterfront? Like, come on. Like, not once we barely went outside. I was allergic to the sun when I ended up Bethel and got excused from being outside for 3 days because my head swelled up.
Oh yeah, a bunch of us that happened too, because we were bald, dude, and they would PT us outside, and they would like keep us out there for
all day.
God knows how.
Yeah.
We were all bald, and us white boys, like we got sun poisoning. Like there was a lot of us actually at one point. We were all standing around pushing our fingers into our heads. Our heads were all swelled up.
Damn.
You're talking like a little press like that, like you're literally making a new tent in your head.
like it's putty, and then our head, and then of course we're bald, so our heads all start peeling and shit, and it's all nasty, and yeah.
Yeah, and that was nice. Not getting PT'd like that. I got out of 1 duck walk because of that.
Yeah.
I got a question for both of you. Did they ever try and load you up with prescription medications when you went to the program? Or were you on them prior to going to the program? Or
I was on Exelon, which is used for dementia, but also for like ADHD, ADD. So Remeron, Paxil, Adderall, XR. And it was like, I think it was right before my 17th birthday or right after. I asked them if I could quit. And I think they said that they had to talk to my parents or whatever. And they let me quit. I quit my medication in ivyridge, cold turkey, everything all at once.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And let's see. What do you think would have helped you instead of being sent to the program?
Addressing the environment at home would have been the help I needed. You know, I was lashing out because of the environment. And me and my mom have a great relationship today. We've actually worked through this. It was really, it was both of us. I needed help, and so did she. You know, she's trying her best. She's alone. Our father passed. So it's like single mom trying to take care of 2 kids, 2 teenagers. And we weren't easy at all. So yeah, I mean, we made it tough on her. She got desperate. And so like she had problems of her own. What would have really, besides the environment, you know, family therapy might have actually been good for us. But the question is, would I have been open to it?
Yeah, back then. Yeah.
I might not have been. But
okay.
That's my answer.
Okay. And for both of you, if you could go back in a time machine knowing what you know now and not go through either of these places, would you do it, and why?
Whoa. Well, man.
Yeah, I would. Because I would go back and tell my mom exactly what I need. You know, I'd give her the cheat sheet, because that means I had the maturity level of a 37-year-old. I had the experience of a 37-year-old, right? So I could be more on her level, if not above her level, because back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it might have changed the whole thing if she would have been perceptive, because if you go back through time, it's convincing that person is the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I have to deal with. I have to try to. if I go back, I have to try to get through to my dad, and I'm 35 years old and I still can't get through to him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Damn.
It's also okay if you don't know. Like, I don't know is an okay answer too. Like, it's usually hard for people. It's one of the harder questions I ask.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. And is there anything else either of you guys want people to know about you guys' experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. Look at the environment. Be willing to listen. You know, humble yourself, and we need to be able to humble ourselves and get out of parent mode sometimes, and try to get on that level of the teens, and really just sit down and have a real talk. No consequences. Freedom to speak your mind. You know, like a therapy session. That, you know, like teenagers need to be heard, but at the same time, they don't need to be told they're wrong all the time if they're trying to express themselves. So teens want to feel heard. They want to feel understood. If they're lashing out, try to figure out why, instead of how can I fix it, instead of just trying to fix it. If you can figure out the why, then you can figure out the real tool that can fix this. You know, for me, I needed a change of my environment at home. The war zone, if that would have been nipped in the butt, things would have changed. Some kids need help, but schools like this is not the answer, because it's abusive, it's tormenting mentally and physically. And a kid going into a school with already problems at home, it's only going to make it worse. So there's a lot of resources out here. There's a lot of survivor groups. There's other options. There's better ways. Reach out to a group called W.W.A.S.P Survivors Alliance. That's open to the public. And if you're having trouble with your kid, with your teen, come to us, talk to us. Maybe we can help. Just don't put another kid through what we went through. Because these schools are still active and open today. And I struggle sitting here knowing that there's a kid's currently in worksheets, currently in isolation, or currently sitting in a classroom with no hope. You know, I wish I had someone out there trying to advocate for me and get us out. We're now 37 years old. Who would have thought we'd be in that position?
Yeah.
And here we are. So we're here. We want to help. Listen to all those parents out there. If you're at your wit's end, reach out to the survivors community. We're willing to help. We'll give advice. We'll put all our heads together and we'll try to figure this out. But sending to an abusive program is not the answer.
I agree. Definitely. Any closing thoughts for you, Colin?
I'm at 3%.
Oh no. And it's hard. I think there's a lot of parents out there that like have undergone their own trauma, and I think a lot of people are in the same predicament or in the same situation that I myself am in. Like probably a few of us survivors are in too. Like people need to realize that like if your computer's a brain, so if you had a rough upbringing, chances are you have PTSD. If you have a hard time regulating your emotions, if you think you're walking around with a short fuse, that's probably the PTSD. A lot of us have a lot of people, like more people than I meet, have had a rough upbringings. And if you're just self-aware that if you had a rough upbringing, you went through trauma, and it is affecting you today. Your brain is a computer. Those moments impacted your mind and your train of thought. So
No, my
if
phone
your
went down
child,
even.
if your child and if your child is acting out and you are butting heads with your child, don't think that the child is the only issue. You know what I mean? Like I said, like I keep saying, it takes two. So if your child's acting out, there's a reason for it. And if you had a rough upbringing and you find yourself arguing back and forth with your child a lot, chances are the way you react to that child is because of your own upbringing. The disorder, like, it runs really deep. It like what we went through changed the course of our entire life. And we, like me, I didn't even know it. So I think if you're having problems at home, family therapy. I wouldn't send my kid away ever. Like if you send your child somewhere and they cut off communication, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
That's a no-go, dude. You always need a line of communication with your child. So
Definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you for coming. What was that?
I just think if you're at your wit's end and you're thinking of sending your child off, dude, like obviously it's family therapy. Like, anyway, you can close up.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever want to do part 2, just take some notes and we'll make it happen. I guess Steve had something happen or whatever. So I'll leave a message in the chat for him too if he wants to come on for part 2. But my platform is always open for people to come back on. So just let me know if you want to do another interview. And if you guys have watched so far in the interview, please make sure you like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment down below and hit the notification bell. And we will catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys.